Go. Go. See if I can do this. There won't be too much wind. Whew. I was going back and forth with Joe Primal. And I told him how I needed to make a video like this for a very long time, like 5 or 6 years. Anyhow, hopefully I make myself understood. The I was born in Central California. Okay, here. I've lived here most of my life, Central California. That's the 559 in my name. That's the area code. And being born here makes me a citizen of the United States of America. Now, as a citizen, I'm granted what we call inalienable rights. So I'm a U.S. citizen with inalienable rights. Now, I could go down to Central America or Mexico, Zimbabwe, Russia. Take off, dog, go. And stand on a street corner and state that I'm a U.S. citizen and I have inalienable rights. And they will say, yes, you do, at home. My inalienable rights are, as a citizen, it's not a human right, but it's a right of citizenship. Here, okay, it's a value here, not over there. Now, other countries may have something similar. That I don't know. But our rights are for us here. That's one reason I don't go to Mexico anymore. Now, years ago, I'm not bragging when I say this. Just walk over there. The gate's open. Sorry. I'm not bragging when I say this, but years ago when I first got into the faith, I've read the Bible, the Holy Bible, 5 or 6 times from cover to cover. Not just studied it, but from cover to cover like you read a book. Every page. The reason I did that is I didn't trust anyone. And everyone told me, oh, this translation is different than that one. This one's no good. The devil wrote this one. So I said, well, I got to read these. I got to see what the heck they're talking about. See if there's some dramatic difference. That's a different video. So I did. I set out to do that. I've read the ESV, the King James, the NIV, the New King James, the Geneva, the Gideon, huge swaths of the NASB. You've read the NLT, and probably on my resources, the Young's Literal Translation, quite a bit. Now, why am I telling you that? I just want you to know I've read the book, okay, all of it. It doesn't make me smarter, it doesn't make me a theologian. I'm still wrong all the time, this kind of stuff, but I've done that much. While I was doing that, I had a list of questions. I said, well, there's all these things I don't know, so I'm going to write all this stuff down on a legal pad. And so as I'm cruising through this thing, maybe something will jump out of Numbers or Chronicles or Hebrews or whatever, and answer this list of questions, some of these questions. One of those questions was, when we talk about inalienable rights, they are God-given inalienable rights. That's the text of the document, which I believe is our Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. God-given inalienable rights. That's a tongue twister. And so the first 2-3 times go around, I never found anything about God-given rights. I thought, well, I probably missed it. So I did more research, finally started asking, and then I figured it out. There's nothing about our rights in the Bible. We have none. As far as Christians. If you're not a Christian, just not for you. But there's nothing referencing inalienable rights or your happiness or any of these other pursuits in the Bible. It's not biblically supported. Now, am I knocking the Declaration of Independence? No, we're blessed that we live in a place that has this. But it's not, I won't say that. It's not supported biblically. You can't find, you're not going to go to the Bible and say, oh, right here, look, God says, pursuit of happiness, Second Amendment. It's not going to happen. It's not in there. God's not concerned about your happiness. I hate to say it. God's after obedience. As far as your happiness, He gave His Son for you and the opportunity of salvation. That's it, and that's plenty. So you have, now you might say, well, gee, Seller, this is kind of rough. I think Thomas Jefferson was inspired by God, him and the rest of the forefathers, when they wrote this thing. Therefore, like prophets of God, and that's how I think it's biblical. Well, you could go that route. You could go that route. I don't suggest it. I don't agree with that. These were men, but you could, if it made you feel better, you could do that. You could make them out to be prophets. But then if you look at what they've done, if you look at the document, how they're just from that alone, God-given rights, and then go read that entire Bible and see where God has ever done anything like that before. Okay, where He was concerned with someone's rights. So it doesn't match with the rest of the purpose of the book. Then you have the idea that typically God did things, He did things specifically for the Hebrew, but we're not in that. We're not part of that anymore. We have the situation where we have Jesus in the Gospels, and it's pretty much open to everyone. So you have we don't have inalienable rights for all humankind. It's just for us citizens here in the U.S. Okay, that doesn't match up biblically. But if you want to go that way, you could. I'm not telling you what to think. The problem with God-given rights is there are, specifically, I'll say there's channels out there that prey on this, and it's not their fault. They don't know it because I think it's not their fault. They think this way. But if I told you that some agency of the government is going to come at some point or in the process of taking away your rights, your God-given rights, and that at some point you need to arm yourself and defend those rights as though you're doing God a favor. If you're thinking of something along those lines, you need to go back and read the epistles as well as the gospel, but you need to spend some time. It's not that big a book. You need to read the epistles. If you think there's a point in time, now this is for someone, if you are actually concerned about your relationship with Jesus Christ and how this thing pans out, and you are following the teachings of Jesus, whether you're doing it correctly or not, if you're not one of these people, then just don't listen to this. Don't. This isn't. You're not going to do this. So, but if you're someone that's actually concerned about that, if you think in your future that you're going to arm up and storm the Capitol or take your government back by force, and so doing breaking a law, you need to go and read the epistles. And you should probably read all those letters and read in the Gospels as well. There's, I'll give you a little tip. We don't get to do any of that as believers, real believers. I watched a video a couple days ago, about a week ago. Big channel, big gun guy. And he was telling people, you need to get right with God and get ready. And basically, if you watch the whole video, it was talking about it's time to stand up and take this country back kind of thing. If you think of the attitude you'd have to have like that, if I'm going to actually do something like that, let's say I'm going to revolt against the established government that I have to have a certain attitude to accomplish that. I have to be walking and thinking a certain way to pull that off, or I'm not going to be successful. I also have to be thinking of saving something here in this world willing to risk my life to save something in this world, other than my family member or whatever, or my own life or whatever. That attitude that you have to have, you need to figure out if that aligns you with the teachings of Jesus. I'll give you a tip, it doesn't. Matter of fact, I'd say that's two separate paths. You're either following Jesus, or you're going to follow this other path of revolt. But those paths do not meet. And there's some prepper type channels out there that'll have all this stuff lined up. It doesn't line up. You need to read the book. Christians don't get to break the law unless they're after the law says you need to denounce your faith, deny Christ, commit a sin, commit murder, or whatever the case is like that. And then you say, I cannot do that because I'm following the teachings of Jesus. I'm restricted from such a thing, as well as you should be. They say, well, we're going to lock you up. Then they lock you up. Or they kill you. What's the Bible say when they kill you for the name of Jesus? Okay, it's your first ticket out. Now a lot of people, that seems, read the book. And I've had this attitude. I've thought about that. Militias, we're going to do that. None of that is biblical. None of that is supported biblical. Matter of fact, that's going to draw you further away from John 14:15. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but there's a lot of big gun types out there, and they're all about big patriotic. We're taking the country back, and we're willing to shoot and die for it, and our blood at the base of the tree of freedom, and all this kind of stuff. And somehow that's supported by Jesus. They call themselves Christians. Now, most people won't like this video. I understand that. But Christians have been hunted and preyed upon, abused, used as cattle, as targets, starved, you name it, executed, since the beginning. We've never had any rights, God-given or otherwise. We're lucky. For all those of us who are believers that are here in the United States, we're very fortunate to be here. But we need to take advantage of that. But fighting your government, you just can't break the law. You could protest, you could march, you could write letters, you could call your representative, write a book, whatever. You can do all sorts of protests and things like that without breaking the law. But to have that attitude that you're going to gun up and do something, that ain't with Jesus. You're doing your own thing now. You're off the reservation. So you need to ask yourself, if these things you think that they're in your future, if you're prepared for something like this, you need to read the book again. And if you say, no, Seller, I think I'm doing fine, that's great. But if you need to find out where that stuff aligns you with the teachings of Jesus. Because if not, then don't bother. Don't bother with the teachings. You just do what you're going to do. But to sit here and say, I'm going to mix oil and water and everything's going to work out okay, it's all going to blend up, it's not going to happen. That's my point. We don't get to fight our government. Unless someone's beating down your door to kill you, which you can self-defend yourself. But we don't get to do that. And I know people will dispute this, that's fine. Anyhow, hopefully it made some sense. Love you, God bless.